Proposal to amend Section 6-2.2 relating to qualifications for the Director of the Department of Public Works to remove the requirement that the Director be a registered professional engineer. Add that the 5 years of administrative experience to be eligible for appointment as Director be related to the powers, duties, and functions of the Department of Public Works, and add the requirement that candidates possess a bachelor's degree in a field related to the powers, duties, and functions of the Department of Public Works as submitted by Chair Adams.
I am not in support of the current wording for Charter Amendment 26 in reference to the removal of licensure requirements for the position of Public Works Director. I believe that it's important that this position is held by a licensed engineer to help protect the welfare of our community and our county.
In its final report in 2006, the Task Force on Overruling Engineering Judgment said this: "Today, engineers sometimes report to politicians, public administrators, and MBAs at the head of their organizations. Sometimes this structure works well, relieving the engineers of the non-technical problem areas, but deferring to the engineer's judgment on technical issues. However, a risk that is frequently ignored is that unless the trust relationship develops between the engineer and the non-engineer supervisor or regulator, the technical program or project can be misdirected into unstable and even dangerous ground that may become unduly influenced by political factors, public relations issues, financial considerations, and unreasonable completion schedules."
I feel there must have been valid reasons why this requirement was put into the charter so long ago, and something that is very, very pertinent as to why this position was so difficult to fill. There was a thing they call a salary inversion. Okay, and basically what happens is the subordinates in this department that report to this position were making more than the director himself. Okay, this was going on from anywhere from 6 to 8 years or so. And that's a sure thing, a deterrent to finding an engineer to take a position when you're going to get paid significantly less than the people that report to you. This was corrected in January 2018 by your salary commission.
In fact, I note in your agenda you are proposing that the Corporation Counsel have licensure in order to head that department. So I think that's very, I was trying to search for what the right word, ironic, incongruent, as I heard, hypocritical, somebody else mentioned that we should be bringing that up at the same time.
It seems to me that after no recommendations of the change for Public Works or any public submission, this amendment was solely initiated by yourself and by Commissioner Lighthead Todd. Despite in regard to the strong comments made by many engineers who regularly deal with the most important public audit matters, this is the most severe discipline required in public works is engineering, not administration or some other function or background. Well, I won't say this. I had some other nasty comment to make, but I won't. The use of the term related areas seems to be very highly subjective. It reads now, it should be related to the powers, duties, functions of the department. Are there any functions, some functions, all of the functions? In what way?
By having licensed persons who are independently accountable, you reduce the likelihood of unduly political appointments. This is really a key position in the administration. And on a practical level, what happens is if they are not qualified, for that person to make a decision, they have to be educated as to all the technicalities in each of the 6 departments, which really is a waste of time and underutilizes everyone's time. And with all of the extreme weather and increasing disaster potential, we really need the most highly qualified person to be there.
I think that some of the key things that I wanted to mention, other than what has been mentioned before, is that the professional engineer's license, it demonstrates engineering knowledge and competence and commitment to a code of ethics. Skills are improved over time with engineering experience in project management, project engineering, cost engineering, engineering judgment, and problem solving.
First of all, I should mention that this is about the charter, this particular amendment, this particular charter amendment. It's not about it's not about professional engineers, and I obviously think a great deal about professional engineers. I'm married to one, you know, so it's, I think it's important that where we have the opportunity, though, to take a look at what the responsibilities of the position are, particularly when they are leadership-oriented, that we don't necessarily carve out a smaller niche than is necessary for the individuals that could serve in that role. There has been a history. I know that we have heard testimony that part of that history had to do with salary inversion. I understand that that is very likely, but I also understand that that is not necessarily totally a factor, the only factor in these issues of making sure that we have a population that we can take a look at, or that actually that the mayor can take a look at, because it's about the mayor having the ability. Now, the other thing about the charter is that the charter is a minimum qualification document. And so this is not to say that a mayor would not choose somebody that has a licensure, that has a license as a professional engineer. But it certainly, I think, is important that the mayor have the ability to take a look at, for leadership positions in the mayor's cabinet, take a look at those folks that make sense in the variety of ways that that can be. And that's, yes, of course, administrative, but it's also management and leadership, which are not always the same thing. I understand that we've added, this is why this is draft 3, we've added the idea that there be something that's connected to the powers, duties, and functions of the Department of Public Works. I agreed to that, understanding that the idea is that we want to make sure that there is at least something that says whoever is going to be looked at for this position does have those kinds of talents or skills, qualifications. So this is, to me, it's about making sure that we have the best possible people available when a mayor is looking at filling this very, very important position. And that's why I would encourage my fellow commissioners to vote to support this particular charter amendment.
I would be very disinclined in any way to lower the requirements for leadership in our county's Public Works Department. And I have to say that, having carried a Hawaii veterinary license for 52 years and watching it evolve into a situation where we have to comply with continuing education. That's in a field that's very, very subjective and is changing. Technology is going forward so quickly that we have to. And maybe in engineering, it's not as sensitive to technologic changes that would require that, for the fact that it's basically a mathematical and physical measurement of what you're setting out to do. But I do want to very publicly state that Hawaii is a highly regulated state, and while at times I get very impatient with that, at the end of the day, I'm grateful for how carefully Hawaii does business. Thank you.
I've observed this Department of Public Works and other places that I've worked, that we're not fortunate to have a PE as the head of the agency. And this is not right, but I heard it from subordinate staff that there's something there with the relationship, and I've heard it before. Well, he's not a licensed engineer. You know, it shouldn't be there, but it is something that is there, that subordinate engineers in general feel better when they're reporting to
appear, so to speak.
You know, from listening to the testimony and considering this impacts the health and welfare of the community, I would just err on the side of caution and basically keep things in the status quo. And I would, you know, prefer that the director be a registered professional engineer.
And I guess I would just add, in observing what happened last year during the emergency, the Kilauea lava flow, Department of Public Works plays a really integral, very important role in emergencies. So I feel much more comfortable if you've got someone with the background, that very technical background. So with that, if there's no further comments, can we take a roll call vote on?
Okay, on the motion to approve CA 26 Draft 3 on second and final reading, Mr. Bergen, Ms. Galimba, Mr. Hamano, Mr. Hopkins, Ms. Leadhead Todd, Ms. Rice? No. Mr. Roerig? No. Ms. Sucking? No. Ms. Springer?
No.
Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Acting Chair Zoko Schluter?
No.
Acting Chair, you have 2 votes in favor.
Okay, thank you.